peeps! Andy here, and today I'm a little sad. We kind of had to unexpectedly move, so I decided to do one last book haul in the townhouse that we're living in now. I'm really sad to go. I'm not moving crazy far, but now the used bookstore is not going to be right down the street. So I was like, let's just do a good old-fashioned book haul. So that's what we have today. Most of these are from the used bookstore, but I'm going to start out with a few that I got from Amazon. The first one that I got was this one. It's by Irva Levin, the writer of Rosemary's Baby. And this is called This Perfect Day. I've never heard of this book at all, but I just was searching more work from this writer because I love Rosemary's Baby so much. It says, this story is set in a seemingly perfect global society. Uniformity is the defining feature. There is only one language and all ethnic groups have been eugenically merged into one race called the family. The world is ruled by a central computer called Unicomp that has been programmed to keep every single human on the surface of the earth in check. People are continually drugged by means of regular injections so they can never realize their potential as human beings, but will remain satisfied and cooperative. They are told where to live, what to eat, whom to marry, and when to reproduce. So it's obviously some sort of dystopian science fiction novel. It sounds, you know, kind of like a 1984, but maybe to an extreme. I don't know. I'm really excited to read this. Let me know if you guys have read this. The next one that I got was Jack Ketchum. This is The Girl Next Door. I don't know why I bought this book, but I did see it and it was like, hey Anda, buy me. And I was like, okay, I'll buy you. So yeah, it just caught my attention. The only thing it says on the back is the teenage girl is held captive and brutally tortured by neighborhood children. Based on a true story, the shocking novel reveals the depravity of which we are all capable. Depravity, depravity? This sounds interesting as well. A true story. It sounds creepy. And yeah, I don't know why I picked this one specifically. I don't think I've ever read any of Jack Ketchum's books. So excited to dive into this. I think one of you left a comment about his writing, so hopefully this is a good one. You'll have to let me know. This next one, don't judge me, okay? Just don't judge me. But I did buy the 120 Days of Sodom. So if you guys have seen the movie Solo or 120 Days of Sodom, this is the book that that movie is based off of. So if you guys have seen that movie and you're like, that's really messed up, I'm sure this book will be quite disturbing. I'm not even going to read you what it's about because it's messed up, but basically it's about women who are held against their will and horrible things happen to them. But the reason I wanted to read this, other than just curiosity, was I also have, you know, a few videos where I've read really disturbing books, and I think that this one is going to take the cake. Yes, I did just hit myself in the face with the book. But I think this one is going to take the cake, and I think this is going to be disturbing. So I will, I'm sure, have an entire video on this specific book. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. I did buy one more book actually from Amazon that hasn't come yet, but I'm just going to tell you what it was. This is called Skag Boys. I think, I don't know, I'm not Scottish, but I think it's called Skag Boys, and it's by Irvin Welsh. And if you guys have seen the movie Trainspotting, which is fantastic, highly recommend if you guys haven't seen that movie. It is based on a book by this writer. However, Skag Boys is the book before Trainspotting. I went to go buy Trainspotting and then I saw this one and it's the same character. So I'm like, you know what? I'll buy this one, I'll read this one, and then I'll read Trainspotting. So that is why I got this guy. I'm really excited to read it because I love Trainspotting. It's honestly one of my favorite movies. So I am excited to read it in, you know, a different form. I didn't even know it was based on a book until a few weeks ago. So that is why I bought that one. If you guys haven't seen Trainspotting, I highly recommend check that guy out. But now let's get into the bookstore. Altogether, I think I spent $25 at the bookstore, which is insane considering the amount of books I bought. So I was like, you know what? I already got a lot from Amazon. I'll just get a few from my used bookstore. Yeah, that didn't really go over as well as I thought it would. So this first one that I bought was Anne Rice's The Mummy. I don't think that I've ever read an Anne Rice novel before. I really don't think I have, because I haven't read any of the Vampire Chronicles or anything like that. So I saw this and I'm like, ooh, Mummy. You guys know that since last October I've been into my Mummy stuff. So I decided I would pick this up. It was $1.50 and it doesn't say anything, but I'm assuming that it's about mummies, which I'm super down for. But supposedly it is intriguing and seductive. Yeah, I'm excited to read this. I know that she's a popular horror writer and I've never read her work. I saw this and I was like, yes, please. Did I already say it was $1.50? I think I did. Okay. Next up, I got Haunting Tales from the masters of the genre, and this is called Phantoms. So this is just a little anthology, and you guys know I'm all about collecting cool horror anthologies, but this is a present day one. This was published in 2018 and it has names like Joe Hill and Paul Tremblay in it, so I'm really excited to read it. The back just says, the brightest names in horror showcase a ghastly collection of 18 ghost stories that will have you watching over your shoulder, heart racing at every bump of the night. So yeah, I'm assuming they're kind of ghost-ish related stories, but I'm really excited to dive into this. I think that this will be really good. This book was $3 at my used bookstore. This one is called Monster by Frank Peretti. It says, left to their own devices, man will always create a monster. And so it's about a man and a woman who go camping in the woods, and the man sees his wife be dragged off into the woods by this monster. And it just says, dependent on the efforts of a small town and a band of friends, Reed knows that they have little time to find back his wife. Even more important, he realizes that they aren't the ones doing the hunting. Something much faster, more relentless, and definitely not human has begun to hunt them. But from this little tagline, left to their own devices, man will always create a monster. I don't know if it's an actual monster or if it's more of like a creation of the man's imagination because of maybe what he did to his wife. I don't know. It's intrigued me, and I thought it would be fun to have a little monster novel. I don't read a ton of these type books, so yeah, I don't know. It intrigued me. This one was also $3. Let me know if you guys have read that guy. Next up, I got, I'm gonna mispronounce this, Fyodor Dostoevsky's. It's Crime and Punishment, okay? And this one just says, a destitute and desperate former student wanders through the slums of St. Petersburg and commits a random murder without remorse or regret. He imagines himself as a great man, Napoleon, acting for a higher purpose beyond conventional moral law, but as he embarks on a dangerous game of cat and mouse with a suspicious police detective, he is pursued by a growing voice of his conscience and finds the noose of his own guilt tightening around his neck. I have never read Crime and Punishment before, and I actually saw an interesting fact about this writer, and that's why I was like, oh, I should probably read Crime and Punishment. But anyways, this guy I got for $3 as well. Next up, I got The Mystery of Edwin Drood, and this is by Charles Dickens, and this one I thought was really interesting because it says that it's a novel that in itself is the subject of one of literature's most enduring mysteries. The story recounts the troubled romance of Rosa Budd and the book's eponymous character who later vanishes. Eponymous? What the fuck does that mean? Hold on, I want to look up words that I don't know. Eponymous. Giving one's name to something. Named after a specified person. Eponymous. Okay. Sorry. Eponymous character who later vanishes. Was Drood murdered, if so, by whom? All clues point to John Jasper, Drood's lugubrious uncle who coveted Rosa. Or did Drood orchestrate his disappearance? As Charles Dickens died before the finishing of the book, the ending is intriguingly ambiguous. So I read that last line and I was like, you guys know I love ambiguous endings. You guys know I love things left for interpretation. So I'm really excited to read this. I think that this will be a really fun Charles Dickens novel to dive into. This guy was $3. The next one I got was called The Fun House. This is a Dean Koontz novel. I read my first Dean Koontz book back in December, and I asked you guys for Dean Koontz book recommendations, and you guys did give me a lot of them, but I wrote them on a list, like on a piece of paper, and I always leave them at home and I never bring them to my used bookstore. So I just picked a random one out. But this one, it kind of reminds me of like a Something Wicked, This Way Comes Ray Bradbury type of story. It says, once there was a girl who ran away and joined a traveling carnival. She married a man she grew to hate and gave birth to a child she could never love. A child so monstrous that she killed it with her own hands. 25 years later, Ellen Harper has a new life, a new husband, and 2 normal children. Joey loves monster movies, and Amy is about to graduate from high school, but their mother drowns her secret guilt in alcohol and prayers. The time has come for Amy and Joey to pay for their sins because Amy is pregnant and the carnival is coming to town. So it sounded interesting. This guy was $2, and because I left all of your wonderful suggestions at home, I just picked a random Dean Koontz, and hopefully it does not disappoint. I'm just interested in reading more books with his writing style because I really, really enjoyed Mr. Murder. So that is why I got that one. Oh, I'm so excited for this one. Oh man. I got another Philip K. Dick. This is the writer of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That is the book that the movie The Blade Runner is based off of. And so I got a scanner darkly. Every Philip K. book that I find, I'm like, how have I never read this before? This is so right up my alley. So it says Bob Arctor is a junkie and a drug dealer, both using and selling the mind-altering substance D. Fred is a law enforcement agent tasked with bringing Bob down. It sounds like your standard case. The only problem is that Bob and Fred are the same person. Substance D doesn't just alter your mind, it splits it in two. And neither side knows what the other is doing or that it even exists. This sounds so fun. And also so fun that it's not a mystery for, you know, it's not like a Fight Club. I just gave that away. Hopefully you guys don't mind, but I'm sure you guys have read it, but whoops. Anyways, it's not like a Fight Club where the reader doesn't really know what's going on until the end. They just give you the information up front, which I thought was really interesting. I am very excited to read this. This again was $3, and yeah, I gotta catch up on my Philip K. Dick books because man, does he write some awesome, awesome sci-fi. This guy was written in 77, in case you guys were wondering. Next up, oh, I'm excited about this too. This is called Chance of a Ghost, an anthology of contemporary ghost poems. So I thought that this was really cool because this can go a lot of different ways. I'm sure there are poems that are creepy about ghosts in like a whoo spooky way, but then I'm sure that there are some like heartbreaking ones about like being haunted by ghosts metaphorically, like the ones that we have lost and things like that. So I don't know, I think that this could be a really interesting book to dive into. I'm always down to read different poetry, so yeah, I'm excited for this. It doesn't have any information on the back, just the authors, but it sounds pretty cool. And this guy was published in 2005, but I don't know when the poems were taken. Contemporary. Doesn't contemporary literature just mean like after World War II? Let me Google that. Contemporary. That is not how you spell it. Literature. Okay, yeah, it's generally said after World War II. That's what I thought. So it could be, that's a big span of time, so it could kind of be anything. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. I thought it would be interesting. And last but certainly not least, we have another Clive Barker book, but this one is called Sacrament. And this one sounded pretty interesting because it says, living and dying, we feed the fire. Sacrament is a novel unlike any Clive Barker has written, neither horror nor fantasy. Though partaking of both, this masterful work plunges far deeper and soars even higher. And it just talks about a wildlife photographer and then an encounter with a bear leaves him almost dead. I don't know, it sounds very different from the Clive Barker books that I have read, so it definitely caught my attention. It's not one that I see very often at the used bookstore or even at Barnes & Noble. So this was $3.50 and I thought, you can't go wrong with Clive Barker. I mean, his writing is just unparalleled. So those are the books that I got this time. Let me know which one you think is the most interesting. Things are kind of a mess right now. We were supposed to move last week and then things got pushed to next week. So I'm hoping I can keep the same schedule, but if I miss a day or two, that is why. I also have to move all of these books, so that should be interesting. But yeah, that is the last book haul at this house, and I will see you Sundays and Tuesdays with another horror video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys!